yourself and take the dreams off the shelf. And don't share your gift, yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah, don't share your gift, yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and fill your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mentality Unchained. I'm your neighborhood therapist, Kevin Thomas. I got Tina Renee from Soulful Discussions in the house.
What's going on, bro?
Yeah, everything's all good, all good. And I got a special guest here today, Marquel Russell. Man, look, this guy got a wealth of information. I would introduce him to everybody, but I'm going to let him introduce himself because he got a plethora of stuff, man, and I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to let Marquel say his thing. What's up, man?
What's up with y'all? So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, man. I'm Marquel Russell. I dropped out of high school in 10th grade. So I got a 9th grade education. To date, we've helped our clients do over $1 billion in revenue. And I love binge watching Law and Order, and I love trap music.
Okay.
And I'm a sneakerhead.
Oh, man. So you talking about trap music, so you know you got to be from the South, right?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Y'all Northerners don't know nothing about that South,
100%,
right?
100%.
That's what I'm talking about.
Definitely the first thing I noticed is the goals. I'm like, oh, yeah, he from the South, you know?
He even got the gold frames on, huh?
Yeah, you're not going to see that everywhere.
That's cool. That's cool. Look, we just kind of free flow it, man. We just like to have fun, just like to talk and have conversation, real talk. Okay. Because really we trying to reach communities that don't hear Black people talk like this and don't see successful Black people. For sure. And so we really want to be able to just talk and give them some real information they can take with them. So, cool. I mean, me being a therapist, like I'm more into like the mental health piece. Like, how do you have the mindset to do what you've done with a 9th, 10th grade education?
So I think, so for me, I didn't drop out of school because I was dumb or couldn't capture, because like when I was focused on school, like I was great, like I had AB honor roll, all the different type of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it's like after to me, and I even have young kids, and I even have kids who graduated high school as well. At the end of the day, though, it's like reading, basic math, a basic level of psychology, right? Human psychology. I mean, you can make millions. So I got to the point where I was in 10th grade. So when high school, I was the guy who like had, you knew people who played basketball, you knew people who played football, you knew people who was like different things, but like I was the guy who had the weed. So like, if you want a weed smoke, you come see me, right? So I was in 10th grade. I was already driving to school, all this, and I didn't really see how learning algebra 2 was going to benefit me on my path to making millions. So none of it was making sense to me. So but I was always driven, right? I always had I was always a visionary, right? Always that type of thing, right? So I just didn't know. I was just putting it into the wrong vehicle, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So it sounds like to me like you've seen it before you even had to get to 12th grade, right? Sure. It's like I see where I can make millions now. Right. Most kids don't do that. Like they like, okay, I still need to get that high school education, but you didn't feel like you was like, I'm gonna seize the moment right now.
Right, 100%. So like for me, it was like I started skipping school, I started doing all that, and one day my mom was like, these people keep calling me from the school. Is like, she was like, if you ain't gonna go, just don't go. Right. And I was like, all right, I'm just not gonna go. Right. Cause it's an interesting thing. Is like everything that we learn, from being a psychologist, is like it's all programming. So it's like we're in 2023 still running the same programming that our great grandparents embedded into us. Like go to school, get good grades, graduate, go to college, get out of student loan debt, graduate from college, go get a job working somewhere, work there 30, 40, 50 years, retire with a pension, live off that. But we're in a totally different world now. It's like pensions almost don't exist anymore. A lot of that stuff don't exist anymore. Now, let me be clear. I don't bash school because I got kids that are in school. Right. I just think that we got to approach it.
School's not for everyone.
It's not for everybody, right? Yeah. And I think when you go into school, I was even telling my kids, that's why I love my guy, brother Henry, Kicker First Entrepreneur Academy, and what they're doing, because it's revolutionary, right? So it's like you gotta, we can't do school like we've always done school. Right. School has to be done differently. So even with my kids, I always tell them, like, yeah, they're teaching you science. Yeah, they're teaching you this. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of the stuff you're learning isn't going to be applicable in real life. However, the stuff that you learn in school, they don't really teach it. You learn it indirectly, right? Yeah. So, for example, how to communicate with people. We don't have a class on communication, but you learn how to communicate with people. True. Like, just because somebody step on your shoes, do you swing on them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no. Yeah. But you learn how do you navigate that? How do you navigate emotionally?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So one thing I used to always tell myself growing up was that I'm good at controlling my emotions. But as an adult going through therapy, I realized that I was just great at suppressing my emotions.
Absolutely.
That I actually can't control my emotions. I can only control my response to the emotion, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get sad. I'm going to be mad. But how do I respond to that? But it's like you learn that from dealing with other people. How do you network with other people? The cool thing with my school, when I went to school, it was a mostly black school, but it was Hispanics there. Yeah. It was white people there because we was a performing arts school in high school. Gotcha. So I knew everybody, and everybody smoked weed, right? Yeah. So I was able to navigate and deal with people who were white or who were Hispanic or who were black or who were sports or who were like streets or whatever the case may be. I was able to navigate that. So a lot of that stuff you learn in school, but you're learning it indirectly. So I always tell them, like, yeah, some of the stuff is boring. I get it. Yeah, every class ain't exciting, but let's not forget being on time, like with your homework.
Absolutely.
Like doing it on time. Yeah, you got a project that's due in 3 weeks. Yeah. But do you gotta wait 3 weeks to do the project? Right. You can be proactive. Right. Get it done now. So now you just freed yourself up. So that's all stuff they're not teaching. Like you learning that, indirectly.
Yeah.
Definitely. One of the things that stood out for me, dropped out. 10th grade, drug dealer. Yeah. But you're here touching millions.
For sure.
How did you beat the odds? And it comes with, for me, when I look at you, it's a mindset. 100%. So let's walk through that. Yeah. How did you beat the odds?
So I think, to be honest with you, the only explanation for where I am in life and how did I beat the odds is like I could give you an answer, but the only real answer I can give you is God. Wow. Right? That's like the only like real explanation of like where I am, coming from where I am. I can't be like, well, I did, if you do this step, or if you do this step. Exactly. I did a lot of steps, right? But like God is like the ultimate. It's like the grace of God because I done been in some crazy situations in my life. So to be here, right, not looking like what I went through, not smelling like the smoke from the fires I went through. Wow. That's at the end of the day, I think it's the grace of God.
I love it because a lot of times when you think about millionaires, you think like, oh, no, they're just perfect. They never went through anything. But one of the things that I did was I was doing some research on you. Yeah. So you and I believe his name is Andre Gaskin.
Yeah, shout out to Andre, my brother, my baby.
Yeah.
100%.
Y'all sat in the room and it was just you two black folks, right? And you guys realized that in order to make that the changes you want to see, you have to be comfortable with yourself. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, like, how do you manage to be in the room with just y'all? Like, it's just you and your brother, and y'all still make an impact.
So, I think the biggest thing, man, is like really getting to the point where you're comfortable in your own skin.
There you go.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like I had to be okay with not proving that I should be in this room. It's like there's something to prove. Like, who am I trying to prove something to? But just owning that, and then like through research and understanding, like. Well, no, we were taught that we're inferior, right? As black people, we're not actually inferior. We actually are the original people. Everything was created from our DNA. We created math, we created science, all the technology. Right, when we ride through a traffic light, but it's like we don't learn that, and it's like they try to say they teach us that in a few days of 1 month out of the entire year. But it's like really understanding that and really understanding like who we are, getting a full understanding of that. And not that I'm a street dude or I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm actually a king. I'm a God. I'm creating God's image. All this good stuff. And like owning that. And then however other people see me, that ain't really got nothing to do with me.
You're the very essence of Mentality Unchained.
100%.
Because the fact of the matter is that you're able to think and feel and know what you are is huge. So in essence, and speaking of what we're speaking about now, when it comes to you making those moves that you were making, when were you able to slow down and say, I'm not surviving anymore, I'm just really trying to live?
So I'm gonna be honest with you, man. So I'm always the type of person, and that's a great question. I'm always like, I'm a thriver, right? So I never wanted to just survive or just live. I always wanted to thrive. I always know there's another level, right? Even now, okay, it's always another level. But now I'm at a place where, in hindsight, I got to look at not balance, but I just look at life at a holistic approach, right? Yeah. So it's not let's just like get in the bag, because it's like money is a moving needle. I mean, it's a moving target. It's a moving finish line. So it's like, okay, let's say your goal is to make $1 million a year. Then once you hit that, now you're like, okay, well, I want to see how can I make $1 million a quarter.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, now you're like, okay, how do I make $1 million every 2 months? And then you're like, okay, how do I make $1 million a month? So it's like a moving target. It's never to a point where you're like, you know what? Why I made all the money I need to make? I'm good.
Right.
It's always another level.
Right.
So now I'm looking at, okay, that, and then from a family standpoint, you know, as a husband, as a father, as, you know, a leader in the community, from a church standpoint, like everything that I'm doing, like how do I, from a health standpoint, right? So how am I successful holistically and like tie it all together versus like just, you know, wanting to get the bag. Because like, one of the things I learned about in therapy was like, you can make a lot of money, you can have more money than you've ever had, but still be in survival mode.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so funny that you said that, because that was just something that we were just talking about. You know, a lot of people say they want the bag, but you have to be mentally ready to go and actually get the bag.
100%.
Let's talk about that.
So I think for me, from a mental standpoint, it's like I'm always like working on myself. I'm always like tuning in. So I got from a morning success ritual, from hiring coaches, from prayer, meditation, therapy, all these different things like to really help tune me up. It's kind of like as a business, as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs are athletes. Right? So you gotta be, if you think about a LeBron James spends $1 million a year on his body. Right? To perform at the level that he performs at.
Gotcha.
Right? So we are corporate athletes as entrepreneurs. So it's like, we as entrepreneurs, we can make the amount of money that athletes make, right? Why don't we look like one? Why aren't we, from a body standpoint, from a mental standpoint, like why aren't we showing up like that? It's just an intentional decision. Because at one point I got up to like 199. I got up to 199 pounds, and I used to get up in the morning, my feet used to hurt, and I ended up going to the doctor. I hadn't been to the doctor in a minute. I went to the doctor. And, you know, he weighed me and all that good stuff. So I was 5'7", 199. If y'all know that's not good. That's not good at all. And I don't even realize it just looking back now while I look at my pictures and stuff like that. I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I'm right now, I'm probably like 150 something. Right? Okay. So I'm like 50 lighter.
Right.
So I went to the doctor, and dude was like, you could be borderline diabetic. He didn't say I was, but I ended up getting a trainer. My guy, he wasn't really a trainer, but he was a guy who always worked out. So I ended up, you know, making some shifts because I was like, man. And then, by the way, the feet thing, I was like, hey, could you refer me to a foot specialist? And he was like, man, if you drop the weight, your feet will stop hurting. He was like, you just got too much weight on your 5'7" frame, right? Yeah. So I dropped the weight, feet pain went away. So I was like, man, we can make the amount of money that athletes make as entrepreneurs. Why am I not built like one? Why don't I look like one, since I am an athlete, but just in the entrepreneurial space? So just like changing the way, and like one of the things for me is like, where I'm from in Atlanta, it may be similar here. Well, it actually is here. So last night, Brother Henry took us to the hotel, and he was like, where we are, really nice hotel, really nice strip. He was like, a block over is the hood.
Yep.
He was like, it's popping.
Yep.
And I was like, interesting. And the same thing where I'm from. It's like, you can be in the nicest neighborhood ever, a block over, be right in the hood.
Yeah.
But what's the difference though? Nothing. The difference is, well, it is a difference. The biggest difference is like mentality.
Mindset.
The people who, how people who think who stay at this hotel. Yeah. And this ain't no bash, but the people who think a block over is just different. Yeah. Now, is it their fault? Well, in some ways, yes. But in many ways, it's just like what we're taught in the conversations we're having. So when we start entertaining different conversations in different circles, that's when things typically change. But I always looked at like, how are some people millionaires and they have these lifestyles, and some people can be in complete poverty, live in the same area. What's typically the difference. And typically the difference is like the mentality.
Go ahead.
No,
Because I always say that you can go to any town in this world, and there's always an imaginary railroad track. It separates us, certain
Or a physical one.
Right. It is right. But for you though, to have that mindset, you had to see or be able to explore outside of your community,
right,
or see things different to be able to say, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Some of our youth don't have that. They don't have that idea because they may not have the mentor. They may not have the parent, two-parent home or whatever. How did you find that, man?
So I think for me, even when I was a dope boy, right, I was never, because like sometimes people, they read, okay, I was in the streets, I sold drugs. They automatically be like, they visualize the young cats on the block.
Yeah.
Like at the store, standing out on the corner. I was never that, right? I was the guy, I used to serve the guys who were on the block.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, they were on the, but because like to me, it never made sense to stand at this store or to stand at this corner because eventually the police are going to pull up.
Right.
So a lot of the guys, when I used to go to jail, a lot of the guys who used to be locked up for drugs used to be for a sale case. And if you don't know what a sale case is, that just simply means you sold to an undercover. So it's like, that's inevitable if you standing out on the block.
Right.
Because when people pull up, everybody's running to the car. Everybody's trying to sell their thing to this person. They just want to make the money. They're not thinking like, dang, are people taking pictures of us right now? Are people getting us on video? Is this an undercover? We ain't thinking of that. So when I was out, you like, this was like beepers. I remember beepers.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
so
man.
you have to beat me, right? And then I call you back, and then you pull up, and then we do that.
Yeah.
So I had a specific type of clientele. And then when phones rolled out, like the Nokia phone,
And the sidekicks.
so I had the Nokia phone, right? With the
telling his age, right?
100%. Like, with the minute phone. Right, and then you pull up, so it's like, and I evolved that way, but I saw it a different way. It was like, okay, yeah, I can be on the block, or I can be the one who getting it, and I serve those on the block, and then move from a corporate standpoint. And I didn't think corporate, but it was just like embedded in me to like just look at things differently, and then how do we maneuver that into other things? And I studied like guys like the Pablo Escobars. Like it wasn't individuals who did it bigger than Pablo. Right. You got the Rayful Edmonds from like Maryland, if you're familiar with those guys. The Alpos and all the like real big dope boys. Freeway Ricky Ross. Like I watched like those documentaries. Like I had like the Don Diva magazines, all the DVDs, studying the dope boys and like how they moved and like how they created these organizations, even though there was criminal organizations.
Yeah.
Business.
But some of the sharpest business people in the world are dope boys or ex-dope boys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they built massive organizations. They just did it in a different way, which led them into the situation. So I was looking, okay, how did they do that? So I just kind of always moved from that particular standpoint.
This is a great segue because, as I was looking through your bios and things, it talked about how you took the necessary risk. You basically took all your savings and say, you know what? This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Let's kind of talk through the history of your invest and everything you have, because a lot of people are not willing to take the risk, but you are, and I think that's what separates a person that's comfortable with being broke, and a person that's comfortable with saying, "Listen, I just want to be rich, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally."
100%. So I think for me, when I got introduced to this whole world, I got introduced to network marketing first. Y'all familiar with network marketing? So it's like you buy into this company. And then you recruit other people, and when they get signed up, you get paid.
Gotcha.
And some people call it a pyramid scheme, right? Pyramid thing. So I got introduced to one of those. Now, when I got introduced to one of those, I was like still in the streets, and I used to do club promotions as well. So I was at one of my buddies' mixtape release parties, and somebody walks up to me and pitches me on network marketing. He was like, "Hey, anybody who you know," who's like, "How many people you know got a cell phone?" And I was like, "Well, everybody I know got a cell phone." And he was like, "What if every time they paid their bill, you got paid?" And I was like, "Well, that would be dope." So he invited me to an event that week, because he was like one of his millionaire mentors was gonna be in town, and they looking for some leaders to expand in the area with. So I'm like, legitimate millionaire. I never really met like legit millionaires. I was around people who had money, but like somebody who built a millionaire from legitimate business that was foreign to me. Yeah. So I went to the thing. Brought my brother with me, and they broke this whole thing down. They was like, hey, what if you was in the room when Google got started or Facebook got started? This is what video technology is going. This is your opportunity to get on this front side of it. This is voice over internet protocol, VoIP. This is where the technology is going. Now you can take advantage of it. It's $500 to get in. I jumped in, And I was like, y'all take cash? And they was like, well, no, we don't take cash. You got to have a card.
Shoebox
I
money,
didn't have
right?
a card. Right?
Yeah.
So they had to show me how to get a prepaid card. So I paid my way in. I paid half my brother to get in. It was like, all you got to do is get 2, and they'll get 2, and they'll get 2, and they'll get 2. So I was like, that's easy for me because I know everybody in the city. Everybody was like, man, it's a pyramid scheme. We good.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to get in. But fast forward, though, that led me into learning about personal development. Jim Rohn's and the Miles Monroes and the Les Browns and so forth.
Yeah.
And it also led me into the internet world and also which led me into direct response marketing, right?
Wow.
And I was just so fascinated by this stuff that I was like buying courses and buying trainings. And I didn't know what none of this stuff was. But I was like, man, they're saying that they're doing this and they're making this. And they're saying they're going to teach me how to do it in this thing. Like, I'm in. And I've always been willing to invest. Like, I've always been cool with risk.
Yeah.
Like, I came from the world where we don't know if we're going to make it home that day. So risk. Okay, cool. I'm willing to bet on myself. So at every step, I was still in it. But the biggest thing was, like, I was still in the streets. And I was like, I'm going to do this legit stuff until the legit stuff pulls off. But I didn't realize that I had to let go. Right, I had to let go, so I ended up getting locked up for a warrant one time, and that's at that point I was like, okay, I got to do something different. So I got out and I was like, you know what? I got rid of what I had. I was like, I'm gonna go all in on this legit business stuff. So I ended up getting evicted from my apartment, like the whole 9 yards. My girlfriend at the time was now a beautiful wife. She actually, because I was gonna go get me a extended stay hotel where you just kind of pay by the week.
Yeah.
Because I started there. So I was like, okay, I could just build back up from there. And she was like, well, that don't make sense. You're going to end up spending more. So she found me an apartment, $400 a month, in the hood, rats, the whole nine. And I just had to rebuild from that particular point. Wow. You know what I'm saying? I was buying courses, learning. I took all my savings, and I was just buying stuff. I wasn't really implementing anything, which is a whole nother nugget in itself. But it just kind of, I felt like God just had to break me all the way down. To like build me back all the way up.
You talk about God a lot. I mean, you talk about holistic. I love it all, actually. Like, how did you nurture that spirituality and incorporate it into your growth process?
So I think for me, bro, it's like when I was growing up, like everybody, you know, especially, I mean, the one thing that everybody like in the hood got in common is everybody like church.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's like, if you go into most neighborhoods in our communities, you typically got a white Jesus and a picture of Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Right. That's like the commonalities, right?
Right.
So everybody was like forcing religion on you. So it was like, oh, if you don't do this, then this, right? God, they kind of painted this picture of God as this individual who was sitting up on this throne, right, looking down on you, and like anytime you did wrong, like keeping track of it. Wow. And if you didn't do it this particular way, you was going to hell, or it was bad to want to be rich, and they kind of translated the scriptures in ways that made it seem like that. Yeah. And I wasn't really into church. Like the only time I was into church was like when, I don't know if they do it here or where y'all from, when they had a church van come through the neighborhood. Oh yeah. And they like pick up the kids.
Definitely. Yeah.
You can like jump on the church van.
That's all day long.
So yeah. So
I come from the project.
Yeah. So we used to jump on the church van mainly because they had food.
Yeah.
Right. So they was gonna go. They was gonna teach us something. And they had food. Right. So it's like we looking for the church van.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really into it. And then specifically, my mom, she ended up getting married when I got a little bit older, and then we went to church. And one day, they did something where they were doing the money line. So that when they was doing like, all right, we're gonna do tithes right now. And the pastor's wife said, hey, if you're gonna give 1,000, you know, get in this line. And then it was like, if you want to do 500, get in this line. And they did those lines. They were like, if you're gonna do 100, get in this line. You know, and I'm a math guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking and I'm like, I'm calculating this, right? So and then I heard her say, I thought this was tithes, not tips. I was like, wow. Yeah. So when we left, I asked my mom about it. I was like, y'all didn't hear that? And they didn't hear it. I'm like, so that turned me off.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't until I actually started studying on my own, right? So I got introduced to network marketing, and part of that, my personal development journey, I got introduced to Dr. Miles Monroe. Yeah. Right? So he's a leadership, and he's also a pastor as well in the Bahamas. Right. So that's when I really started learning it, and it started making sense to me. And I was like, oh, because I'm a practical guy. Yeah. It's like when I used to go to church, and I'm still involved in the church, my pastor's right-hand man, the whole nine. But it's like when I used to go to church and like people used to be falling out and jumping around and stuff like that. I wasn't having that same experience.
Right?
So it's like I'm like, what is happening with them?
How come I don't?
Or what's wrong with me? Well, I'm not feeling that. Right? I'm like, I don't feel that.
Yeah,
so
something wrong with you, huh?
Yeah. I'm like, what's wrong with me? So when he started teaching it, I'm a practical guy. Like I'm like, boom. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. And then I started getting into church, studying for myself, doing the research, getting my own revelations. Yeah. Then it started to make sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. I love it. So you say you're married and you got kids.
Yeah.
I'm a father. I love it.
Nice.
I think it's like the best thing that you could be is a father.
As
a father, right?
I
know you.
I was gonna say, you forgot the mother part.
Yeah, but as a father,
I tell people all the time, like I got a lot of titles. Dad is my favorite.
Yeah. So, but how is it balancing wife, kids, business, all that? How does that balance works?
I think it's like I'm not sure. So I don't technically believe in balance.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because if something is balanced, right, it's like steady.
Gotcha.
It's like it's not moving.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's about being intentional, right, with the time.
I like that.
Because like it's not going to be a perfect balance. Because if you think about it, if you do business, right? Let's say somebody works 9 to 5.
Right.
So that's 8 hours. If you say, okay, I want to balance it, like, are you going to have 8 hours with your kids as well?
No.
Are you going to have 8 hours with your wife or your husband as well?
No.
Right? So that would technically be a balance, right? It's like equally divided.
Yeah.
And like, let's be real. Like for those who got kids and those who watch who got kids, your kids don't want 8 hours.
No, they don't.
They want their little time and then they're good. Like my 3-year-old, if I play with him with toys for a minute, we'll play 10, 15 minutes and he want to go get on his iPad. But that 15 minutes was critical, right? So it's like, I think it's just about being intentional. So one of the things I do with my kids now, my 3-year-old, my 8-year-old, 9-year-old, I do one-on-one days with them every month. We've been doing it the past 3 months. So it's like, I got 3 kids and it's great for us all to be together hanging out.
Yeah.
But I think it's a different thing. And even my therapist reached out to me and was like, bro, that's going to be a game changer. And my guy Kendall said the same thing. He was like, bro, the one-on-one time, it's a game changer. Yeah, it's cool when y'all are all together because we travel and stuff like that. But it's like you with them one-on-one, totally game changer. And it could be an hour or two. Like my 3-year-old would go to Chuck E. Cheese, an hour. Yeah. He good. He ready to get back with mom. You know what I'm saying? My 9-year-old, we went and rode scooters on the belt line the other day. We did a couple hours. But it's like just that intentional time. My wife, we said we might watch Law and Order or something like that. Just chill. So I think it's just about just being like intentional. Church, are you gonna have 8 hours? No. It's like we go to church on Sundays, be there a couple hours, we hang out, chop it up, do my prayer time in the morning. But like I've been in churches where it's like, hey man, you gotta pray an hour a day. Yeah. And it's like, what am I pray about? For a whole hour. And I used to feel convicted because it's like I don't pray like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I get it. I do my thing, and it's like I don't really got an hour worth of stuff to say. And then I started learning that worship is like how you live. It's like me on this show with y'all right now. This is worship because you mentioned man, you mentioned God a lot. This is worship. Like how I serve clients, how I be
like that.
when I'm on stage. It's like me on my knees at the altar.
That's how
That's how people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at my gym time. I go to the gym in the morning. I'm in there 30, 45 minutes, straight torture with my trainer, right? Maybe an hour max. That's boom. So it's like just being, okay, what's important in my life? Yeah. And then making sure I'm prioritizing those specific things. Yeah.
I love it. I'm sitting here looking at you and, back in the days when I was growing up, corporate America, when you see somebody with money, they have to be white.
Yeah. Right.
You got to be in suits.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I look at you, gold teeth.
Yep.
Looking at you with tattoos. And one of the things that I'm trying to change in corporate America is money don't have to, or leadership does not have to look like what it used to be.
100%.
It needs to look at how our environment looks now.
Yep. Yeah.
And it doesn't negate whether or not I'm able to do the job.
Yep.
Let me show you more than anything. Yep. Why you chose me
100%.
or should choose me.
100%.
Let's talk about why you don't have to look the part. You just got to be the person that put the action behind.
For sure. Because you got to think about it. I tell people all the time, professionalism is results. Like that's it. Professionalism isn't what you got going on, how you talk. Professionalism is results. Yeah. Can you get results and help other individuals get results? That's what professionalism is at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And now if you think about it, the most powerful people in the world, in terms from a business standpoint, is like they wear flip-flops to work, or the same T-shirt that they wore all week. If you think about the Mark Zuckerbergs who run Facebook and Instagram, if you think about the Googles, if you think about the Apples of the world, like Steve Jobs, like he could show up with a turtleneck every day. He didn't even wear shoes. Like if you ever watch the Steve Jobs movie?
Yeah.
Like dude didn't even wear shoes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about not like he showed up with socks. It's like no, most times he was barefoot, no socks, no shoes, jeans. He was like, I come in here to get to work. Nobody ever questioned him.
Right.
But I think a lot of times, us as black people, we have this, we gotta do this. We gotta fit into this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I get most of the flack from black people. I get people in my comments when I ask, like, oh man, if people gonna take you seriously, you gotta, take the goals out, or you can't have your hat to the back, or why you can't blah. I was like, how are you gonna tell me that? You know, this is like what I do.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's understanding like what business, what professionalism really is, and at the end of the day, professionalism is results.
Definitely.
Wow.
And being confident and consistent is huge for me. I'm like, when I walk through the room, you see this goal here, but honey, I'm going to give you the business. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you said that.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been teaching a lot of the young black men that starts to come into my office, because for a long time, I only got Caucasians, not that they didn't want it. It's just that they didn't trust, right? Or they didn't see anyone that looked like them.
100%.
One of the things I've started to tell them is that you always must enter the room as yourself.
Yeah.
I come from the projects.
Yeah.
You come from Atlanta Trap, and she comes from Chicago.
Projects.
So if we come in as ourselves, either you accept us who we are, or you don't accept us at all.
100%.
Why should we have to change to be something different? So I love this, because even with my logo, people's like, well, why did you do that? I was like, it's a story behind it, but at the end of the day, I'm a black man.
Yep.
And so why would I put someone else up there that's not who I am or who I recognize with? And so it's for me to see you doing what you're doing and giving back the way you're giving back, man. Hats off to you, brother. I just wanted to give you your flowers,
Thank you.
on camera.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Because at the end of the day, I think when we see brothers and sisters doing things, we need to give them their flowers.
Definitely.
100%.
And not just be like hating all the time.
Definitely.
I appreciate it.
I was able to see your growth, and it come with connections. One of the 3 things that I focus on: power, mental, connections, that network, and the change that you want to see starts with you,
100%.
right? So let's talk about how, as you transition throughout your life, how important it is to connect with people that millionaires, billionaires, mindset, all of that.
So I think for me, the first thing I look at, right, when I'm doing connections is like, I'm an energy guy, right? I'm heavy on like people's energy. So I don't even look at, I'm not like, so one of the things I don't look at is like, okay, how do I connect with more millionaires? Or how do I connect with more billionaires? I'm looking at like, how do I connect with people of character, right? Of high integrity,
Exactly.
right? Who have morals, right? Our values align. So for example, I said something one day and this lady reached out to me and she wanted me to interview, me or whatever. And it was just something I just said. I was like, I was basically laying out how I choose coaches, for example. And I was like, our values have to align. So I told him, I was working with a coach one time, and I used to go back and forth to California every quarter to work with him. And I found that he was cheating on his wife. So I actually removed myself from the environment.
Exactly.
Out of integrity, I still paid. But I was like, if somebody would cheat on their wife, to me, that shows a lack of integrity.
I get it.
Because it's like, this is the person you committed the rest of your life to.
Wow.
So, and you lay next to them every night. So it's like, if they can't trust you, like, how can I? So one thing I don't do business with brothers who cheat on their wives. I don't do business with sisters who cheat on their husbands. Because that's a lack of integrity for me. Like, I can't trust you if your spouse doesn't. I don't do business with brothers who are like deadbeat dads. Now, I get some brothers are in terrible situations.
Yeah.
They got things going on where it's tough for them to be in their kids' life.
Right.
Now, that's different. But like, you just intentionally not being in your kid's life and it's under your control. I don't care how much money you make.
Yeah.
I don't care who you know. I don't care what opportunities you can plug me into. I just can't, because that's more important. The money is just a byproduct.
There you go.
The money just magnifies like who you really are. You
Yep.
can be a millionaire, but like you just a terrible person. Like your
Yeah.
kids hate you.
Yeah.
Your wife hates you. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Right? You could be a billionaire, but like you're in terrible shape.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I want to be around cats who are healthy, talking about health, they're talking about growth, they're talking about travel.
Yeah.
They're talking about these type of things.
Right.
But it's like some people are so broke, all they have is money.
Yeah.
So if money is everywhere, money is a commodity. You can get money everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm looking at high integrity.
Yeah.
I'm looking at morals. I'm looking at character. I'm looking
Yeah.
at your reputation, like that type of stuff. The money stuff, that's just a
love that.
byproduct of
I
you
love
being,
that.
you know who you are.
That's huge because a lot of times people do focus on money. I met Jim Walton and he said, Tina, it's all about building relationships.
100%.
If, you see a millionaire, the first thing you're like, oh, I want to see if I can rub arms with him
Yep.
because he's a millionaire. If anything, you want to get to his mental.
That's
Yeah.
it.
You want to understand how did he get to where
What
he
books
is?
you read?
What
Yep.
books you reading?
Right.
What are you doing?
What's your
how are
daily
your
routine?
meditation? What's your routine? All of that. And if you focus in on the money will never come because you're not right mentally.
Bingo.
Definitely.
No, look, you hit it. At the end of the day, you have built something.
Mm-hmm.
You have a blueprint.
Yeah.
You have a platform as well. Giving that back sounds like it's important for you, one, your integrity, two, and then what would be the third thing that you say that got you to where you are right now?
So I would say another thing is like I think a couple. So one thing, if I was to pick one thing, like you said, is like I think vision is everything. Right? I think you got to have a clear vision of what you're looking to accomplish.
Right.
Because if you don't have a clear vision, like anything will take you out.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you got to have a vision. So like when these challenges happen, right? So for example, if you look at like a stair ladder, right? It's this thing called a frustration quotient. So at every level, you're going to hit a level of complexity that's going to lead to frustration.
Yeah.
So at that level of frustration, do you now turn back and be like, this must be a sign,
Yeah.
or this may be God,
Yeah.
or and then you just fold,
Yeah.
or do you figure out how do you get through this level? It's your frustration quotient,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like how do you increase that frustration quotient?
Yeah.
And like if you don't have the vision of where you're going, you're not gonna keep going. So for example, let's say you have a vision of being around when your great grandkids, right, and being able to play with them.
Gotcha.
Outside, run around, get on the floor without being winded, without being this. What if that's the vision for your life? Now going to the gym for those 30, 45 minutes or an hour, getting brutalized by a trainer, you're okay with that.
Yeah.
The soreness, you're okay with that. When you look in the mirror and the body ain't how you want it just yet, even though you've been going hard in the gym for 6 months, but it don't look like the way you think it should look. You having to change your diet and how you eat, what time you eat, how much water you got to drink.
Yeah.
Like that stuff can be painful initially, but the vision is gonna make you stick with it to go through it and fight through that.
I like that.
At some point, I'm glad you said that. At some point, you got to the point where you were frustrated. You talked about how some people would.
Yeah.
How did you overcome it? Like, what did you do to say, you know what? I don't know.
I think so.
Did I make the right choice?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I still have points of frustration. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people have this idea of you when you finally make it.
Yeah.
It's all smooth sailing.
Yeah.
That place doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're growth oriented.
Right.
That place doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like there's always a place of frustration. At that level of frustration, that lets you know there's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
It's like when you're lifting weights, right? It's like if you're always lifting weight that you can easily throw up, that ain't growth.
Yeah, that's not.
You got to
right.
get it's time under tension that expands your muscles. Like being under that weight and it's a little heavier, going faster on the treadmill. So like for example, this morning I ran 2 miles on the treadmill, and it's like it's not easy.
No.
Right? Like running is harder than lifting weights to me.
Yeah.
But it's like I didn't have to do it. My trainer isn't here. But it's like based on my vision, I was like, I need to go get these 2 miles in. I could have easily been like, hey, I'm too busy. I slept in. I got in late last night. I could have came up with every excuse in the world.
Yeah.
But I was like, let me go get these 2 miles in. It'll take me 16 minutes, 17 minutes or whatever. But it's the hardest thing that I'm gonna do today.
Gotcha.
Let me get this knocked out.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So I think those levels of frustration, those are growth opportunities. Whether that's in business, whether that's as a father, whether that's as a husband, whatever that is, figuring out what I can learn from this. And I think practically, one thing that I got even from therapy is like getting present.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we'll go we'll downward spiral back into our past.
Yes.
Or we'll think, well, man, this thing ain't working now.
Yep.
How is it going to affect me in the future? And it's like, well, no, don't think in the future. Don't think in the past. Like, are you okay right now?
Absolutely.
Like, are you safe right now?
Yeah.
And if so, get present, do some breaths.
Yeah.
Like, okay, based on where I am right now and what I have, knowledge, resources, whatever, what's the next big step? And to your point, if you don't know, who can I reach out who does know and can like
I like
advise
that.
me?
I like that. We got to
Maybe sometimes it's just going for a walk, right? And just pulling away from the problem for a second.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you will have that click and you be like, that's the solution. You was just like leaning in on too hard, but you just went for a walk or took a shower or went to the gym.
Yeah.
And then
You want to be a part-time therapist? Hey, look, it just, you know what though? Seriously, it just shows that you actually do put in the work.
For sure. Yeah,
because therapists know when someone has been going to therapy.
for sure, that's the real work, bro. That's the real work.
Yeah.
It don't matter how much money you make.
Yeah.
Like once you get the money thing out of the way, now you stuck with all the problems money can't solve.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's like you chasing the bag. A lot of times you just running from you. So it's like now you got to face you. That's why I heard when COVID, suicides went up.
All
it's like
day.
now you got to sit with you.
Yep.
Now you got to sit with your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Now you got to actually sit in that relationship or that marriage that you're in.
Yeah.
Now you got to sit with those kids, and people start realizing that they actually don't like their kids.
Right.
They actually don't like their wife.
Yeah.
They don't like themselves. You got to sit with you.
Yeah.
When we chasing that bag,
I
and we
love it.
always on, we just running from ourselves. But it's like when you can sit down and you actually like, okay, I'm my problem.
Yeah.
My problem ain't my problem. I'm my problem.
Yeah.
Like that's the real work.
That's huge.
I like that. We got to get ready to wrap up. Tina, you got any last words before we let him just leave some advice? for the
Definitely.
people?
I was getting ready to say, just give us some advice for the people that's out there that found themselves in the similar shoes as you, and now want to be exactly where you are today.
I would say, here's what I'm glad you ended it with that. I would say, get clear. If I'm looking at this camera, right?
Yeah.
I would say get clear on where you actually want to be, because you actually don't want to be exactly where I am right now.
Gotcha.
Because you don't really know where I am.
Right.
Right. Some people may say, well, he got this or he got that, and this is or what they perceived.
Yeah.
Right. But they don't realize like like on this journey, like I lost my mom, my brother passed, like I went. So it's like, do you really want that?
That's right.
Right? Do you really want everything that had to go through? You know what I'm saying? No, figure out what it is that you want and really sit down, right?
Yeah.
And boom, boom. So for example, one of the things at one point I was like, I want to be this speaker where I'm speaking all the time. But then I sat down and I was like, do I really want to be speaking 320 days of a year and be on the road, living out of a hotel, out of a suitcase? No, I don't. That's not what I want. So you got to sit down and get clear on like, now I was able to pop out here, be here for a day. I'll be back home in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I think my advice would be sit down, get pen and pad out, and like write out what is it that you want.
Wow.
A year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years, 5 years from now. What do you want? Forget everybody else's goals. You don't gotta want a yacht or a Lambo, private jet, none of that. It's like, what is it that you want? Like, what do you want it to feel like?
Yeah.
What do you want it to look like? When you get home, what do you want it to smell like? Who do you want to be around? Who do you want to be? And like get crystal clear on that with no limitations. And then every day review that in the morning, at nighttime, lunch, and get clear on that, and not just say, I want to get where you are. Because you don't really know what I am. You don't know where I am.
Wow.
And what I've had to deal with and what I've had to grow through.
Say it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. I appreciate that. Is there any place that you want people to follow you, hit you at in social media?
So
anything?
whatever your favorite social media platform is, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Hit me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, Marquel Russell. So everything is Marquel Russell, MarQuel RUSSELL. Also, if you're a business owner, if you're like a coach or if you're a consultant and you want to get more leads or you want to get more clients so you can actually go and scale your business, you can actually go to scalethesmartway.com. So scale, SCALE, thesmartway.com. Because a lot of businesses, they're growing their business the dumb way.
Yeah.
Working way too hard.
Gotcha.
Hustling and grind 24/7.
Gotcha.
Where you can actually scale and grow the smart way. So go to scalethesmartway.com.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much, Tina Renee. Thank you for a collab and joining me, co-host.
Anytime.
Like we work good together.
All the
No,
Thank
but
y'all
look,
for having me. I appreciate it.
I mean, hey man, look, we want to thank you, man, for coming through because you didn't have to. We definitely appreciate the generosity.
Thank you.
And you know, as I always end the show, we all have the ability to change our circumstances only if we focus on what we can change.
100%.
So I thank you for showing up and appreciate you.
Thank you.
We're
We
out.
appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.